Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good, everyone? Hopefully you guys are doing pretty well. This will be a little bit of a different video. It's funny because Gacha Talks hit me up about this on Twitter, and I've actually been wanting to do this for a while now, probably well over like a year or whatever. But Gacha Talks, is this your first time on the channel? I can't remember.
This is the first time on the channel. It's cool to finally hear the "what's good," you know, in the flesh. And funny story, we've had to reschedule this a couple times. Your boy Jin&Nolar he's a very busy man.
Yeah, I think, part of that is that, and I think, with this particular subject, I kind of wanted to, if we're going to do it, I wanted to do it right. So a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but, definitely some research and, insight analysis kind of went into it, but hopefully it's kind of surface level enough to where it doesn't kind of, bleed into like my, role in finance at work or whatever. So hopefully it'll be simple terms and clear cut and straightforward.
Yeah, which the way that you wrote this out, it looks perfect. So I think everybody should definitely be able to follow along.
Yeah, I don't know, like I did this like briefly, but I guess it looks visually nice enough to where we can just kind of screen record this and you guys can kind of read along as we kind of touch up on each of these bullets. Yep. But we're pretty much ad-libbing this, like we're improv-ing the hell out of this. Like we didn't prep in terms of like, all right, you talk about this, we talk about that or whatever. So we're just gonna fully improv
just
it,
like
right?
how I like it, dude. It's always good doing content like this. It's real, and we're just learning together.
Yeah, it's this will be a good subject too, especially considering this is kind of like your first time on the channel. It'll be a good way to kind of segue into just talking together about it. And we talk on Twitter and stuff, and we're kind of on the same wavelength. So, all right, we got through the introduction, so let's just go into the meat of the product, right? Yes. So, like I don't know what the title is going to be, but it's probably along the lines of just talking about 2020. Total revenue for Dokkan Battle. So we kind of have a summary of 2020 and some of the historical stuff here. So we'll just highlight this year's performance year to date so far, and then Gacha Talks can kind of provide his insight into each of these. So we'll just start off with the year to date revenue estimates, right? So far, I think year to date is 230 million for Bandai Namco. That also includes Dragon Ball Legends as well. That equates to a 22% increase year over year in revenue, and then Bandai Namco made up 17% of the mobile RPG genre, which Dokkan Battle falls into. So 17% of the market share in the US, that includes Q1 all the way to quarter 3 of 2020. So that's as of September 20th. So September 31st.
Let me go ahead and chime in there. So for everybody who's watching, and I know a lot of individuals on Twitter, the Reddit and stuff like that, have been basically saying, Dokkan hasn't been doing that great financially, right? Bandai's not doing that great financially. This is a huge number, right? Of course, we're adding 2 gacha games there, 230 million with including Legends. But in the grand scheme of things, these are mobile games, right? Dokkan is not losing money. Bandai is not losing money. They're making plenty of money right now. So I definitely want to stress that Dokkan is doing just fine financially. Yeah, it's been a lower year given the current circumstances of the world, but they're still doing very, very well nonetheless. These are big numbers.
Yeah, and I just want to say, just make sure you don't say that too loudly, or Bandai's going to end up adjusting your rates.
Yeah, that's true.
So, by the way, you bring up a very good point, and let's just cover this before we get into the next topic. I've taken a look at the annual investor reports for Bandai Namco because they are a public company and whatnot, and it's hard to get the separation of Dokkan Battle because they get lumped under the mobile game segment of all their different industry sectors in the company itself, right? But it's really difficult to pinpoint how much the profitability is because revenue is it'll tell you a lot, but the bottom line is unless you know what the profitability index is, you don't know how much money they're actually keeping in house. You know what I'm saying? Like after their operating expenses and overhead and all that. So there's probably a reason why we don't know that number, because it's probably going to piss off the player base of how much profit they're actually making off of us. Right?
I can't imagine. Yeah, that's exactly why I want to say most gacha games won't disclose that information. It's because those costs to pay those employees are probably, for one, they probably don't have that many people operating these mobile games.
Yeah,
they have like small little teams here, like, you know, they have I think 2 teams, one for global, one for JP. And it does not take too much to make super attacks, you know. And don't get me wrong, the devs do have to work, they have to work pretty hard to get them out. But in terms of actual work, you don't need 100 people doing this. You need like a solid maybe 10 to 15 working every day on the clock, you know. That's it. So no, these guys are banking. they're making money, so they're fine.
Yeah, I mean, the other bullet here is basically talking about, you know, the impact on international growth, right? Basically, Japanese mobile game companies reaching out on the international side. It's pretty crazy how Dokkan is actually, you know, one of the top leaders. They're actually leading that segment of it, and I think they generated, what is this, 273 outside of the country in 2019. While FGO accumulated 273. So they're actually popular internationally more so than FGO is from a Dokkan standpoint. So, you know, it's not surprising, but it's just pretty crazy how much of a reach, you know, these guys actually have.
Yeah.
And then I think the other piece, right, is I kind of called this out on here, but it'll be interesting to find out what level of impact, you know, the second half of 19 and 2020, you know, mobile releases like Genshin Impact, Grand Cross, you know, what kind of impact they had on Dokkan's revenue, because a lot of the player base, from what I've noticed, you know, they kind of played those games out, and you know, longevity is a little bit of a separate discussion, but what are your thoughts on, you know, these guys potentially having an impact on Dokkan, like less resources spent because they have more games to play? You know, what are your thoughts on that?
So I want to say it's definitely been impacted with like Genshin Impact, 7 Deadly Sins. But the one thing that I don't think it's really hurting Dokkan too much is the fact that those player bases might not actually be into Dragon Ball. You know, Genshin is...
That is very true.
Yeah, right now, Genshin is a huge, you know, worldwide. You have a lot of people who never even played a gacha game playing Genshin.
Yeah.
So right now, I want to say there is a lot of Dragon Ball guys playing it. You know, like you look at the guys in 5-9, a lot of them have been playing both. Like Nolar spends a lot of money in it. But for the most part, it's more on the people who liked Breath of the Wild, want to get into it. Like, it's another Breath of the Wild type of thing. And you know, I don't think Genshin is necessarily hurting it. Now, Grand Cross, I want to say a lot of the guys over in the Grand Cross community, like Nagato and all these guys who make videos, definitely play both, right? So I want to say Grand Cross is more of a rival that could potentially be taking money, because I do know a lot of people play that one. Let me see. Let me see. So,
you know, what's crazy, right, is Genshin Impact, I was reading up earlier, and they apparently made like either 60 or 90 million like the first week or first month, whatever it was. It was some ridiculous amount. I wonder how much of that is percentage-wise Nolar's expense. I don't know.
Nolar spent a lot. He spent a lot.
Yeah, I heard he spent a lot of money. So we'll have to have a separate conversation with him on that one. Maybe intervention at some point.
Yeah, I think we got to sit him down and you know, I understand he does it for the content, but you don't got to do this anymore.
All right. So let's talk about September 2020. That was the latest full month of revenue I was able to pull. I think based on the information that I found, and these are, I don't know if they're 100% accurate or not, but Dokkan Battle did rank number 6 in terms of like the leading Android apps in September 2020. Now I do have to note, it's actually quite more popular, I think, from a player-based standpoint on the iTunes or, you know, Apple Store versus Android. So given the fact, with that being said, I mean, they're still ranking 6, and I think the ones that are beating them, at least for the month of September, was like Coin Master, Candy Crush Saga, Pokemon Go, Roblox.
Stuff that makes complete
what
sense,
is this?
right?
Garena. Yeah, and it's you know, with that being said, they were still able to generate 12.75 million for 1 month, you know, so you annualize that and, you know, you can come up with the total estimate full year. But September, I guess, we had a couple of things like Worldwide Celebration, I guess, was out during that time, right? Technically speaking, and then, a couple of things. But I would assume 5-year, during the months of January and July, those numbers
are the busy
probably
months.
way higher.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. So that kind of segues into the next bullet, just talking about, taking a look at the performance of Japanese games companies on the global stage from January 1st through September 30th. Two of the top 10 revenue generating publishers were in fact from Japan, similar to what we talked about earlier, where Bandai Namco generated 1.5 billion, whereas Square Enix accumulated 1.2 billion. Now this is all inclusive, not just Dokkan Battle, by the way, but 1.5 billion, that's, those are big numbers there, it's a lot of money, and the fact that it comes from guys like you, me, and I, we're not billionaires by any means. It just accumulates over time,
which is crazy. Like, you look at that and you look at Square Enix and you're just like, wow, Bandai is making, and 100% Dokkan is a huge percentage of that, because I believe Dokkan every year makes around like $1 billion. I know like Fate Grand Order makes like 2 or 3, like they're always like double over on the the Japanese side, but on normal Dokkan makes close to, I think, 500 million or $1 billion every year, and it's still
I think 18 is based on up to Q3 of 2019, what I researched earlier. I think February of 2018 had the highest gross, where it was like 814 million or something like that.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely crazy numbers. Don't quote me on that, but I remember seeing something like that. So it's crazy numbers. Actually, you brought up a good segue.
Yeah.
We're about to move on to the historical overview. So $2.1 billion cumulative since release up to November 19th. So we're not even including 2020 year to date into the numbers here. So it's what do you think about that? $2.1 billion cumulative revenue over time since release.
For a mobile game. This is pretty wild, and I think this goes to show how big that the Dragon Ball IP is, right? Dokkan is primarily the mobile game for Dragon Ball. Legends, unfortunately, is slowly falling off here. They've made a lot of bad turns, which means that Dokkan is going to be even bigger now. There's not going to be much competition in this market, unless after next year. Basically how it works, this is like a fun fact. So, Toei has a deal with, I believe it's Bandai, where they do either a movie, one movie, or a game, right? This year was Kakarot. Next year is going to be the new Dragon Ball 2021 movie. And then the year after, we could potentially see another Dragon Ball Gacha game, right? 2022, like maybe they plan to close down Legends next year, and then after that, in 2022, we'll see a new Dragon Ball Gacha game. But as of right now, dude, it's not going anywhere. It's making a lot.
Yeah, for sure. It's too much of a cash cow right now to get rid of it. So we'll probably see it. It'll be around for a minimum of 5 years, I would say, another 5 years going forward.
Yep, easily.
So I do have to make a. I'm sorry, what was that?
Easily. It's going to be 5 years. Yeah. It's going to hit a 10th anniversary, and a lot of people are like, no way. And I'm like, for what they're doing to make this game, they like this money. They like this money.
Yeah, they're gonna milk it, especially with the movie coming out next year. They'll definitely come out with stuff related to that. So it'll be very interesting to see how these numbers are gonna change with the 2020 and 2021 numbers included. I do have to make a correction though. I think when I was referencing February 2018, I think instead of 814 million, I think it was like 81.4 million, because the peak for the year was 2018 over a historical standpoint of $620 million in 1 year, which is still pretty damn crazy. I mean, I think up to November, it was like 500. Yeah, like up to November of 2019 for the year of 2019 was 566 million. So it's a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, it's just, you can see it from a quarterly standpoint, starting off from humble beginnings of 47 million in the first quarter of 2016, which is still very good for a game starting launch. Within the first 2 months, you're making money like that. That's pretty good. And then you see it fluctuate over time the peak of, I don't know, 17 at 154 million on Q3 2017, and then it jumps to $227 million for the first quarter of 2019. Obviously, the anniversaries dropped on JP and whatnot, and then you kind of see a little bit similarities there with the third quarter of 2019. That's where July falls in, where Global has their anniversary. So it's funny how you do see indications as to, like, depending on the timing of when the banners drop, and also it fluctuates up and down, but you can see it's continuing to increase over time. It's trending that way at least.
No, it's fine.
And we'll see how 2020 finishes up, but as soon as that information comes out, I'll probably get you back on here and we can talk about 2020 performance.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. I know Social is poking fun at you for making this chart.
I know, right? I'm like preparing for a board presentation when I'm typing up my notes, but it actually works out because we can use this as kind of a screen record, and they can kind of read along with us and whatnot. So it works out pretty well. I've got a couple of other.
you are a man of business.
Yeah, wait till I get into full work mode. These guys watching right now are like, too much, man. You got to slow down that roll a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
I got a couple of other. I've got a couple of other bullets on the historical overview. So let's just kind of cover these guys real quick.
So it's first.
So just generally speaking, yeah.
Was made April 2018. That's only 3 years, dude, after launch.
Exactly.
Imagine.
Yeah, and then read the next one. Read the next one. How long it took for the second billion?
Let me see. Accounting for 1.2. Hold on. I don't see that in that one.
I was in the same.
19 months later.
List
19
out
months later.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that is. Yeah, that was actually when I started playing. Was a little bit after the second year anniversary. It's when I originally started playing. It was after UI Goku was dropped. I think that was like.
Oh yeah.
I want to say from that point till the end of the third year was like the pinnacle of Dokkan. And it was insane. That was the most fun time period, which I think we're going to get back to eventually. But, dude, that is crazy. 19 months to make another $1 billion.
Yeah, it took literally a little over a year to hit $1 billion. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. And then what's the next one? It's talking about, obviously Japanese users are by far the biggest spenders in the game, accounting for 1.2 billion out of that 2 billion. So that's, what is that, 50% of total lifetime revenue?
Yeah.
Now, the question I have for this, right, is Japanese users, is that based on a region assignment of the actual user, or is that basically, the JP players of Dokkan? I feel like it's referencing like VPNs or something maybe, right?
Yeah, I think. I want to say.
I guess what I'm getting at is like basically that data statistic right there. Is that including the Truth and Nolar out of this, or are they omitting whales like that from a U.S. or Western country basis and strictly just including the whales of Japan? You know what I mean?
I want to say they primarily.
One of the questions I'm wondering. But.
I want to say it's going to be primarily that. They're looking at the whales in Japan and not so much over here because, again, I don't think we get whales. Maybe in France we have whales like that they might not be accounting for.
Yeah.
But I know in the States, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think, besides like, maybe like Goresh, because Goresh,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think we had the same amount of whales over here. Not even, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, the story I've always heard is there are a massive amount of whales in Japan, and these are like, tech gurus or, the guys that are high-ranking guys in either entrepreneurial spirits or whatever in the, IT and tech industry sectors. But yeah, I've heard there are a lot of people with a lot of money dropping dimes on, a game like this. So, certainly believable. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. What's the next one? App Store generated the most revenue, making up just over 1 billion, or 51% of the user spend. So Google Play users spent 982, 49%. So it seems like it's pretty equal. I was initially thinking Apple or iPhone users were a lot more, common than Android, but 51% versus 49. I mean, that's pretty damn even, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That is, you just never really see that, because whenever we see like a JP top grossing, I believe we always see like iOS a lot quicker than the Android.
Yeah, and that's and that's exactly why I had that impression of maybe it's more common in you know, the iOS users versus Androids, but it seems pretty even at this point. This one you'll get a kick out of. The average revenue per download for Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle currently stands at $35. So that includes a lot of the free-to-play type players. Obviously, it's all inclusive of all the downloads, and you're basically divide. I'm guessing they're dividing total revenue by total downloads. I'm guessing that's where they got the math on this, but $35 per person essentially, or per player, I guess, per account, I should say, to be exact. But you know, that doesn't take into account the I don't know how many times multiplier that, you know, people like Truth and Nolar and Goresh and whoever, you know, spends on the game. But that is funny to know. On average, it's 35. I think, and you can kind of agree or disagree with me on this, but I feel like what's impacting this average right here is potentially the massive amounts of re-rolled accounts and, you know, inactive users too, or downloads or whatever.
Yeah. I want to say that's probably why they actually implemented Safety Net, was for that reason, because there's so many dead accounts out there that, you know, it's kind of hard to get an actual number on that. And maybe like maybe iTunes and Android were noticing that, and they could have even contacted. We don't know what goes behind the scenes, since the Gacha games do not, you know, relatively, they're very to themselves, right? So we don't know.
Right.
Maybe Apple and iTunes messaged them and they're like, hey, you know, we don't know, like, what's up with this? Why do you guys have over 1 million players that are just dead accounts? We don't know if they got flagged.
I'm sure
that was part of it, because there's so many reroads. You know, we had the carry bot. Everybody was doing it. There's millions of accounts like that, which goes back to the worldwide celebration. I don't think they did a download one because of that reason. You know, I think they're now the new chairman is looking at those numbers, and he's like, why do we have millions of people not playing? Like, why do we have millions of accounts that haven't logged in? You know, and I want to say that takes a huge. If they're getting $35 per download, I'm pretty sure they got talked to by these probably from iOS. Apple could have definitely emailed these guys saying, hey, what are we paying you guys for?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to help them from optimization standpoint too, in terms of like maintaining the servers or whatnot. If they clean up, you know, the massive amount of you know, dead accounts and whatever. So, you know, I don't know. Like, it's too early to tell what's going to happen, but you know, we'll see how it plays out over the course of, you know, the next few months and whatnot. So I'm not sure if Global got that feature included with the latest version update, but
it's in there.
Yeah, so we'll see over the next, you know, 6 to 12 months what kind of impact we're talking about here. So, all right, I think the last section is really just kind of like interesting facts, you know, just trivial information that I wanted to list out, just call out here separately. So I'll just read a couple of these, and you can kind of summarize what your thoughts are. So let's just start off with the first one. So I guess Japan accounts for 22% of mobile game revenue share globally from Q1 to Q3 2020. So, you know, like that's just, you know, that's crazy in itself. And then the next one is Japan's mobile games revenue expected to grow by 4.9% to 6.85 billion in 2020. So, given the situation of all the stuff that's happened in 2020, they're still looking at, you know, a net of 5% increase in growth, you know, to roughly 7 billion in 2020. And that's all inclusive, obviously, for all Japanese mobile game publishers. But that's a crazy number in itself. Yeah. A lot of money in this
I think we're in the wrong job
sector, I guess, so to speak.
We're doing the wrong.
I think the last one is, let's see, Japanese publishers continue to maintain a hold over the local app stores when it comes to player spending. Over the last 5 years, from January 1st of 2016 to September 30th of 2020, 8 of the top 10 revenue-generating mobile games in Japan were Japanese publishers. That's 80% of the top 10. and then 7 of those accumulating more than 1 billion at that time. So over roughly about 4 years, 7 out of the top 10 revenue generating mobile games were able to get 1 billion plus roughly cumulatively. So yeah, that is a pretty crazy amount. I mean, you got games like Monster Strike, Fate Grand Order, Puzzle and Dragons,
Dokkan is number 4.
Dokkan Battle, Pokemon Go, and whatnot. So it's fierce competition. I mean, we're always like fighting for top grossing against, Monster Strike and FGO and whatever. So it's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, no. But Dokkan being number 4, that is huge. That's huge.
Yeah. And the last bullet, I wanted to call this out specifically because other gacha games and mobile games do this. It's interesting and important to note that Dokkan is one of those mobile games that we really don't see a lot of crossovers or like the swimsuit banners or waifu banners, whatever the terminology is. I don't keep up with that, stuff, so I don't know what the right terminology to reference that is. But like what FGO recently had like a summer swimsuit banner or whatever. Like Monster Strike, they have all these crossovers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of common in other gacha games, right?
Yes. Swimsuit, seasonal, rainy day, summer, like these are all really big things that Dokkan's never capitalized on. And I feel like if Dokkan did, if Dokkan was like, hey, we're gonna do a swimsuit banner with like Videl and Chi-Chi, I think that would sell like hotcakes. But Dokkan doesn't need to do that. Honestly, they don't.
Yeah, that's okay. So here's the thing, right? And we'll get your opinion on this next, but I personally don't want to see that kind of stuff. Like crossovers, I'm totally okay with, but like the swimsuit / waifu banners, like I'm not really looking to pull off those banners, and especially I'm gonna be even madder if they make them like very, very good units with very good category or leader skills. Like that's just gonna frustrate the hell out of me because I mean, look, I always grew up with Dragon Ball with the macho man, manly type shit.
So like when they manly guy.
I don't know about all that, but I'm pretty sure I'm a small minority when it comes to saying that. But what are your personal thoughts, and what do you think the overall player base, like, would they be open for that kind of stuff, to be rolled out in the game?
Yes. I would say the overall player base, for the most part, there's a lot of guys who play, like Grand Cross, Fate Grand Order, for those swimsuit characters or those costumes or those stuff like that. I think that is a huge market, especially over for the dudes because hey, it's cool seeing some gals in swimsuits. Not gonna lie, But I definitely get what you mean because
that's true.
But the thing is, there's a lot of Dragon Ball players who've been, who are a bit older, who play Dokkan, right? And that necessarily might not go well with the player base. So they could have like they probably look at the percentages of the age of players, and I'm sure they have a lot of young guys, right? There's definitely a lot of young ones playing Dokkan, but they primarily probably look at the guys who are spending money. And everybody who's spending money is obviously, you got a career, you got a salary type job. They're focusing on like you guys, like Nolar, you, Garesh, Truth. They're focusing on these guys. They're not focusing on the kids. It's not like how Pokemon makes Pokemon games for kids. Dokkan is still looking at, the main people who are spending money are the older guys. So I want to say they know their player base is not going to be super crazy. Like I can't imagine Garesh will drop $4,000 for a swimsuit Videl, or you would even do that. You'll be like, I don't know.
I don't know, man. If a Frieza swimsuit card dropped, I'm sure he would drop millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure he would go for broke on that one, right?
Yeah, I think he'll sell all his stock on that one.
A bikini golden Final Form Cooler Dragon Ball Heroes banner.
Yeah, I think Gresh would definitely summon for something like that. But I don't think they would.
That's very crazy.
But
so I think you brought up a very, very good point, though. Like a lot of these anniversary special promotional commercials, they really kind of tap into reminding, working guys like all of us, the childhood days of growing up with Dragon Ball GT or whatever the case is. All the commercials, at least on the Japanese ones, they kind of reference the whole, take a trip down memory lane to your childhood, remember those days type deal. Like I know like the 4-year LR Goku and Vegeta, when they came out, the promotional piece was pretty much, kind of tracking back to your early days type deal. So I could definitely see that in terms of, the general demographic of the player base. But I guess with that being said, too, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe we should run a poll on this on Twitter at some point, just asking about
who wants one.
Whether. Well, actually, yeah, you guys watching right now, if you're still watching, comment below and just let us know, like, would you want to see that or not? And tell me your reasonings as to why. It might be a good way to get feedback. Bandai gets free survey feedback from it if you guys comment. So if they see it, they'll probably take notes on it, right?
Yeah. They do listen. They definitely do listen. So.
Yeah, this could easily become an hour or two long segment, so I'm gonna try and cut things off here. But I think that really calls out the fact that you and I can certainly have some interesting conversations going forward about a variety of topics and just talk about this kind of stuff. So it was very good to have you on here.
Yeah, dude, for sure. It was a pleasure.
it's kind of nice that it's kind of nice to have a second opinion on your thoughts. And good way to introduce you to the audiences on this channel. So with that being said, definitely make sure to go check out Gacha Talks on his channel. He runs a lot of different types of content. Also a pretty big key contributor on the 5-9 Gaming that you guys I'm sure are aware of at this point. So with the weekly podcasts and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely good to have you on. And
I appreciate it, man.
Any last thoughts or ideas you have that you want to talk about maybe going forward? I don't know if you want to spill the beans right now, but
that not yet. That would not yet. But everybody who does watch to this point, bully Jinro into downloading Phasmophobia so he could play with me in social. Tell this man to take a break. He works very hard for everybody in the house, and he's doing a great job. But tell him to take a break, all right? Make sure.
I'll think about it.
Okay. But that was all.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. It was a very good time, and I do have to apologize for making you wait 6 weeks to do this video.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long time, so I'll try and be better about it. Maybe we'll do a lot more things more frequently. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I do have to apologize. So I feel like I talk more on this one. So we'll readjust for that going forward.
Yeah. I'm definitely down to hang out again, man. And hopefully you really take a break. Hopefully soon. But yeah, again, dude, thanks for having me on. I had a great time. I've learned a lot. The spreadsheet you made was honestly really good, and I learned a lot today.
I appreciate
so
it.
I definitely enjoyed coming on, and yeah, whenever you want to do something like this, dude, I'm always down.
All right, 100%. I'm totally down with that. And for those watching right now, hopefully you guys had a little bit of fun learning about some of the financial metrics and numbers going behind the game instead of just covering about the in-game content. Hopefully it's a breath of fresh air for you guys. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys later on the next video.
All right.
All right, peace out.
Peace.